I'd like to call to order the October 14, 2025 regular meeting of the Nelson County Board of Supervisors. Let's please stand for a moment of silence. Mr. Rutherford, lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda today, public comments. I have 4 people that have already signed up. Those people that might be present that want to speak during public comments, as soon as I go through the list of 4, you'll have an opportunity to come and speak your 3 minutes. Just as a reminder, 3 minutes is what you have to speak. As you get towards the end, Dr. Ligon, my timekeeper, will let you know when you've got 30 seconds left. I'll let you know when you're almost at 0 if you haven't stopped talking yet, and I will ask you to wrap it up at that point. If you represent an organization or a group, please let me know who it is, and odds are you'll get 5 minutes in that case. So, and then when you come to the podium, please give your name and your address for the record. So first on our list today is Joanne Clarkson.
My name is Joanne Clarkson. I live at 3316 Patrick Henry Highway, Pine River, Virginia, and I thank you for the opportunity to come before you today to bring a concern. I know that you all are elected officials. I also know there's a code section that provides that you all can petition the court and have your information, GIS information, taken down off of the internet. My appearance here today is twofold. Number one, I want my information taken down. My address, whatever property I own, I want it all taken down. And because one of the most secure systems that I thought in the United States somehow got hacked in, and one of my most important numbers were taken, and it was used illegally. We live in a dangerous world, and right now we need to think about this. What is going on? What people can look at when they go on the internet about your information. So I'm asking you all to consider, which I will write a letter, that you give the people the option of whether they want your information on that internet or not. So therefore, I request that you all consider this, and also I will be back once I write that letter. And also, you don't give people enough time to say their concerns, in my opinion, because I have other concerns here about the county and what's going on. Thank you very much, and you all have a blessed day.
Thank you. Bill Thompson.
Yes, sir. I'm here to speak a little bit about this water and sewer issue in Pine River, Virginia. I'm at 3279 Patrick Henry Highway. I know that water was put in about 12 or 13 years ago through a grant, okay, to come through because probably the water and the sewer in that area of the county was substandard. And I understand that things change. I understand it costs more to maintain and do anything. One thing is, up there where I'm from, a lot of us, including myself, own a fixed income. I've heard that this water rate in 6 years will double, $150 a month, $2,000 a year, plus your taxes. That the people, and a lot of them, like I said, own fixed incomes in there. I'm asking, before this gets done, to maybe take a look, can it be subsidized from something else in the county? Such as I understand on the St. James Road, some apartments are going in that I think some of those hookup fees has already been waived, okay? And next, if it does go up, do we get more services? Like, do we get more water? Okay? Maintenance is an issue. You know, when they put this system in that long ago, there's no traceable lines. The lines from the main highway to our homes, there's no way to locate them. I've had to dig up one twice, and those lines that were put in back then, they're not the thick PSI pipes, okay? That's a maintenance issue down the road. It's gonna be passed along to the customers there. And who will oversee this? Who will be the oversight when this is turned over, right? So you keep going up on prices, how far will it go? When is enough enough? And who is to say that? Okay, we've had enough, can't stand any more price increase. And the next thing, and my last, is that do I have to stay hooked to it? You know, when this thing come through, a lot of people, we all signed up, I thought it was a good idea too. I had good water, and as far as I know, my sewer always worked too. So are we stuck with this? So I ask you to take this into consideration when you go looking further into this system in the county. So thank y'all very much, have a great evening.
Thank you. Wisteria Johnson.
My name is Wisteria Johnson, 2016 Willis Cove Road, Sherman, Virginia. My presenting concern is the manner in which the dissolution of the Board of the Department of Social Services was executed. In my opinion, the process used faulty and incomplete information full of half-truths and untruths that was publicly cited on a group of people that could not push back because of their duty to client and employee confidentiality. In my opinion, it is disastrous when political people serving together for a long time lose their sense of integrity. It seems that as they serve together with consensus, they think they do not require valid or honest reasoning for their actions. No need for complete and valid investigation reports, no need for use of credible statistics, no need for avoidance to social media while investigation is in process. The reason for such power plays may include a need to maintain political power for continued acquisition of personal financial gain or to gain a higher political office. Could be public diversion from a possible family scandal or diversion from faulty actions committed by other employees. There may be a need to take advantage of nepotism. It could be a desire to be revengeful or egotistical to people who doesn't bend the knee to dictates of this power. If any or all applies to the act of dissolving a board of the people in this democratic committee of society, my message is God doesn't like ugly. In my 75 years of living, I have learned that there will be a reckoning day in this lifetime where no human hand is involved. Also, because of the dissolution of the DSS board, the Nelson County people lost in one day around 120 accumulative years of civic wisdom. That's on record in just 3 women alone. A DSS employee of 42 years who worked diligently night and day to provide protection to Nelson seniors and children, as well as providing DSS services to all eligible families. Second woman from the board, 45 years, who sat on past school boards, built the middle school, renovated the high school, and supported the building of 2 badly needed elementary schools. She also sat on a community board and led the drive for a 3rd community center. Third woman taught 25 years. She advocated and received the first full-time art program for Nelson schools. She sat with the Board of Supervisors at their request to work with the blueprints on the school system. These were women that helped build Nelson, not tear it down. Now, my betrayed heart, and that's what I am today, feeling very betrayed, will take a seat, but I will remain active in prayer for all of us.
Thank you. Carla Kenneville.
is Carla Quenneville. I live at 775 Fletcher's Lane, Arrington, Virginia. I am here on behalf of the Livingston Merchants Association, which is a newly formed organization focused on growth in the village itself and the surrounding corridor of 29 and other local businesses. I'm going to read our mission statement so you'll all be kind of understanding who we are and what we're trying to do. The Livingston Merchants Association is committed to fostering economic growth by promoting collaboration among local businesses and driving tourism through our village's rich history, vibrant art scene, and natural beauty while celebrating the unique culture of our community. We want through that collaboration to shape the future of this village and the area with tourism, signage, infrastructure, revitalization of the village, events, and long-term growth. I'd like to introduce our board. Standing with me is Robert Johnson, he's our treasurer. And sitting with me is Leslie Brock, our vice president, and Abby Rice, our secretary. Robert is going to give you some more information. I'll give it over to him.
I'm Robert Johnson. I live at 112 Club Highland, Ellisford, Virginia. On behalf, as Carla mentioned, I'll call it the LMA, the Livingston Merchant Association, we are seeking $5,000 in support from the county. And that would help us from everything from the incorporation costs, legal fees associated with it, proper insurances, and then even into things such as we will be filing with the IRS for a 501c6 application as a nonprofit so that we can apply for grants down the road with other institutions. But also for the website and then the marketing efforts that it will take for us to put the word out there so that people can come in and to support our membership, which will be the small businesses in and around the village of Livingston.
Okay.
Questions we're happy to answer.
Yeah. Normally we don't engage in questions during
Okay.
public comments. If you have anything else to say, you've got some more time if there's any other relevant information. Otherwise, I thank you for,
I think it's pretty succinct, so.
thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, those are all the people that signed up. If anyone else would like to speak during public comments, this would be your time. Please come forth. Since no one else wants to speak, I'll close the public comment period and move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Reed, hey, before the Livingston Merchant Association leaves, real quick, I wanted to touch base. I wanted to bring this up, talk about the Livingston Merchant Association's ask about how, when in this agenda, I might be able to talk about it some. Is, I guess, maybe a correspondence or directives, would that be appropriate?
I think so.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we don't forget to do that.
Good, okay. Okay, back to the consent agenda. Hopefully everyone has reviewed the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on that, or I would entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. If there's any further discussion, we would have it now. If there's not, we'll take a roll call vote.
I was unable to attend September, so if I can vote on the rest of the items B, C, and D, but abstain from item A,
Okay.
if that's possible.
It can. Let's first vote on the minutes for approval. So can we pull that out and vote for that separately?
Or how about we just,
So we'd have an abstention on that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So
Mr.
I assume
Chairman,
you've made a
move that
motion.
we approve
Okay.
the minutes from the R 2025-71 minutes for approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Let's have a roll call vote.
All right. Mr. Rutherford?
Abstain, I was absent.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Park?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve B, C, and D of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. If there's any discussion, otherwise we'll do a roll call.
All right. Dr. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes. Thank you. Now we have a proclamation on Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Dr. Ligon will read the proclamation.
The Nelson County Board of Supervisors, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas the problems of domestic violence are not confined to any group or groups of people, but cross all economic, racial, and societal barriers, and are supported by societal indifference. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to systemic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economical control and/or abuse, with the impact of this crime being wide-ranging. And whereas no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate domestic violence on their own. We must work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent such violence, support victims, survivors, and their families, and increase support for agencies providing services to those community members. And whereas the Shelter for Help in Emergency and the Nelson County Victim Witness Program have led the way in the County of Nelson in addressing domestic violence by providing 24-hour hotline services to victims and survivors and their families, offering support and information, and empowering survivors to chart their own course for healing. And whereas the Shelter for Help in Emergency commemorates its 46th year of providing unparalleled services to women, children, and men who have been victimized by domestic violence. And whereas the Nelson County Victim Witness Program currently provides victim advocates and a support group for those seeking relief from domestic violence in Nelson County. Now, therefore, be it resolved, in recognition of the important work being done by the Shelter for Help in Emergency and the Nelson County Victim Witness Program, the Nelson County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim the month of October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urge all citizens to actively participate in the elimination of personal and institutional violence against women, children, and men.
Thank you, Dr. Ligon.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Let us vote.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Dr. Ligon?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes. Thank you. Time for presentations. Our first one, Mr. Brown is here from the Virginia Department of Transportation. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Reed. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir. Just have a few things to report on this month. We have completed the structure replacement on Route 617 on Route Fish River Road. That was completed a week or so ago. We are working on Davis Creek Rural Rustic. We started putting in some large pipes over there, so hopefully that project will come on through and we can hopefully finish that this year. But it's been quite an undertaking getting the structures. That one will probably cost more than what we normally spend on the road, but it had a lot of drainage on it. And I don't know if you've been up on Route 6 After Mountain. Folks enjoying that new pavement up there. That road was milled and overlaid by a VDOT contractor. I think he did an outstanding job. And then also they are paving now down on the lower part of Route 56 near Winjana. That was a section that got pulled off the paving schedule 7 or 8 years ago, and it's taken this long to get it back on there to where we can get some new pavement down on that end of the county. And other than that, we are making as I stated last month, a major initiative to replace a lot of bad pipe in secondary roads in Shipman's area, Shipman VDOT area. And they have replaced a lot. So hopefully that will continue. And going back from a couple concerns from last month, The pipe cut, where the road was cut to put a pipe in over on Arrington, that has been fixed. That's what I was told. I haven't been there to check it out. And also on Keys Church Road, we did some damage to the pavement when we did some ditching, and I was told that has been fixed. So hopefully those two things have been taken care of. And that's about it.
Okay. Thank you. Now it's our turn. Jesse, do you have anything you want to?
Yes, thank you for getting that road done. Folks appreciate it. I hope some of you enjoyed some of the signs that the locals put on there. Almost done, getting there. It was pretty good. But thank all the guys for getting that finished up quickly. Happy to have that route back open.
Yes.
As it relates to pipes, I'm also happy to hear about that. One specific, a road that I frequent every day on Peavine, we have a culvert pipe that's starting to fail. We're starting to see in a line multiple holes where it's sinking. You can see it sinking. But more specifically, not just that, in Schuyler, there's been a lot of complaints about brush and whatnot along Rockfish River Road, Route 6, and Schuyler proper. If you, multiple folks have also had them turn in VDOT tickets online as well, just to kind of pinpoint specific areas that need brush cut. So if you need a more descriptive other than the entire town of Schuyler, I'm not gonna do that to you.
I met a lady up there,
Yeah.
a month or more ago. And she was right there where, I guess that was Wall Road, and we rode all the way through there. There should have been a lot of boom action done up there.
So Laurel is not so much the issue, it's Rockfish River Road as you're getting into Schuyler. There was another couple mentions. I'll coordinate with the sheriff. We were at his town hall when they were mentioned, and maybe he could refresh my memory of what a couple of the other concerns were.
Well, if you could just send me a
I'll
list
send
of
you a
roads,
list.
that would be great. I hope we addressed a lot of that when we were over there.
Great,
But
okay. I'll find out.
Find out, shoot me a list.
Sounds great, thank you. On that, that's all I have.
Okay. Dr. Ligon?
I just want to say how impressed I was how quickly you got to our list. They say government's slow, but within a week,
Yeah.
you had it patched up, so I was impressed with that. That's all I got.
I do just have a follow-up from a conversation we had about a concern with grass being kicked into the road on Jacks Hill over near Dickey Brothers, and I have a resolution to that. I was contacted by one of the residents, my predecessor, Mr. Brugier, said that he was the one who cut it, and if anybody doesn't like it, they can just stay off Jacks Hill Road because they don't live there. So, but that has been resolved. So.
Okay, thank you. Robert, as you know, when you start going door to door and asking people what's on their mind, you hear a lot about roads. And since I've been doing that, I sent you my laundry list.
Did you get my email
I
back?
did. I got your responses to all of them. I kind of wanted to go over them because I've got
Sure,
some
that's
questions on them. The first one was about the need for a crosswalk in Nelly's Ford.
Yes.
Something that would connect, Route 8 Isle Road or Belties or somewhere there with the west side of 151 and Village Green and the other businesses there to get people back and forth because we're seeing a lot of foot traffic on that now.
So you think an actual pavement marking crosswalk is what people want?
They aren't sure. Most people have said a crosswalk. Now, we didn't talk
I'm sure
about details.
That's probably one.
I think a crosswalk might be the safest thing to do with some signage. That might be the very safest thing, and it would be then very clear where the
Is
where the point
there a
would be.
clear place where you can see people wearing a path on the grass or somewhere where it's obviously, this is their preferred place to cross the road?
I'm not 100% sure about that. You'd mentioned having a meeting. Might be a good idea for us to do that and maybe go on site, and it
Yeah,
might
we
be a
can look
good.
at that.
That would be a good thing, and maybe we could inquire with some of the businesses that see traffic a lot. I know that there's a trail from Stony Creek that kind of dead ends by the, back of the pharmacy. And that's used a lot, I know, and that's a lot of the breakfast traffic
See,
at
if
Belton's.
we put a crosswalk up there, if we pay one actually across the road, there has to be a designated enter location, exit location. We're gonna have to identify that and make sure that has proper access. Now, in a curb and gutter section of roadway, you put in your ADA curb cut ramps. But even on a road with just shoulders, we're gonna have to make sure if we decide to put one there, that it has the proper entrances, so,
Yeah.
but we can look at that.
Yeah, let me know the best way to proceed, if we need to get some community people together, or if we should meet on site, or if there's a study that should be done. I just would like to get something moving on that before someone gets hurt.
I think, if you would, just shoot me a few dates that work for you, and I'll see how they are on my calendar.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
I might recommend a breakfast or brunch at Belty's on the weekend when there's a lot of traffic, and then we get a chance to see some of it.
On weekend?
I didn't think that was,
Double overtime.
I didn't think that was gonna be possible, but I thought I'd just throw it out there. I'll send you some dates. Don't worry about that.
All right.
Okay.
And he'll buy you breakfast.
Charlotte Courthouse is a long ways.
Then I talked to you about Jake breaks on 6 and 151. And after I got your response, I did a little research, and yes, it's the DMV that regulates Jake breaks.
Function, yeah.
And some states have regulations on Jake breaks, some don't. I did a little bit of research online. It looked like the last time something came before the General Assembly was about 5 years ago, and it didn't pass at that time. But it's something that I could, work with some of the other rural counties on through the Virginia Association of Counties and see if it's something that would be a good thing to do.
I think the biggest issue with passing any legislation is how do you enforce it? I think that's the sticky point with any legislation. From what I understand and what I remember about that failed legislation, it's, you can pass a law, but how do you enforce it? So that's just a little information.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so thank you for your response on that. That got me on the right track. I talked to you about Edge Hill Way, where I had a couple of complaints from residents on the surfacing that was done. I think it was done with asphalt and stone.
Yeah.
They were hoping they could get some kind of paving scenario on that. I know it doesn't qualify for for a paving of an unpaved road. Is there any option available
No.
where that could get upgraded?
Not really. I mean, that really received the same surface treatment that we've done in the past. Now, when it comes up next time, when it comes due, we might could do something a little better than that, as far as like a micro surface and a latex, because it is somewhat a subdivision. And that's just something we'd have to keep an eye on, and know, we probably have to put that on there. I probably need, that is the only option I have, is if you don't like surface treatment, which nobody likes surface treatment, tar and gravel, but, in subdivisions, but we do have to put it in there simply because it's so cost effective. But the next time that road needs paving, we need to consider another type of treatment, that latex emulsion or microsurface. We could probably get that up there.
Okay. Keep me posted and let me know if it looks like it was pretty recently done.
Yeah,
So
this is not something we're gonna go back and cover that up.
I understand.
This I'm talking about, and you're gonna laugh when I say this is something probably 7 or 8 or 9 years down the road that someone's gonna need to remember, to talk to me about a different type of pavement.
Well, if I'm still here, then I probably won't remember.
I won't
But,
be.
but I had a hard time remembering today, but that's okay. I will flag that and see what happens. And we talked about GPS routing in rural areas in
that's-
Virginia. Had on what was it? I'm thinking Hill. Hill Road or Hill Lane up there that's,
Hill
there was a
Road.
big
That,
tractor trailer with lumber that tanked over
There's,
on that side there.
one of the ladies called me yesterday
Okay,
about that Ms. Can't remember her name, but, we're gonna look at that. Our traffic engineer's gonna look at, they're gonna look at posting something on Hill Holler, Old Roberts Mountain, and, Duncan Hall,
okay.
as far as the truck restriction. And that's what it would take. And then they still probably gonna go through there.
Right, you know, the bigger question is what process is open to rural localities that would like to see, you know, a more, you know, seamless connection between GPS routing and VDOT in terms of what can go on what roads.
Probably a good avenue, Senator Reed, would be to contact the Virginia Truckers Association, because they have as much input into this GPS routing, maybe more on GPS routing than VDOT does. But our engineers, we've got one person that focuses a lot with GPS that works for us. They're gonna take a look at this.
Okay, can you keep me in the loop on that?
Yes, sir.
That'd be really helpful. I'll be talking to some people at the Virginia Association of Counties next month. So if there's anything I can bring to them that
I
might,
think the president, I can't think of his first name, the guy you need to talk to is Mr. Bennett,
Jeremy Bennett?
Chairman Bennett.
Yeah, he's the one that's, he's the Transportation Committee, right. Okay, and the last thing was the collapsed culvert on,
Yes.
south of Route 6 on 29.
I don't know. You know, we've had two of our maintenance folks have met them up there, and, they were given some, Ms. Moyer was given some bad information, but, and nowhere did we say we would purchase a pipe and put it in for it. And this is just a typical, private entrance, and our policy is on existing entrances, it's just what I put in my email. On existing entrances, if a pipe needs to be replaced, an entrance pipe needs to be replaced, if the property owner buys the pipe, we will put it in. They don't need a permit, but as far as VDOT furnishing a pipe for private entrances, we do not do that.
What size pipe is it? It's gotta be big.
It's a big one,
It's a 60
Yeah.
inch diameter pipe.
yeah.
That's $8,000,
It's
$9,000.
It's the same situation as you had on 778. It's unfortunate, but
Right, and that applies whether it's in the VDOT easement or not.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But, I asked my superintendent down here, David Beasley, it was my understanding they had an alternate way out, but is that true or not?
No, they don't. There's actually two residences that
Yeah,
use
there's two
that
people in there.
as an entrance. But that's the only one, whether they have one that's deeded, that I can't say without checking it
Right, so
more deeply. But
What I wanna do is, and I think it's a live stream in that pipe too, if I'm not mistaken.
it is.
What I wanna do is go and get the permits, the environmental water quality permits, get that done as quickly as possible. And, you know, hopefully they can get a pipe, and, if they get a pipe, we'll stop what we're doing and go up there and put it in, once I get a permit.
Is there an opportunity for any additional relief for them on this financially?
Not through VDOT,
Mhm.
not through VDOT.
Okay.
Because the sad thing is that if you set a precedent that you cannot keep, cannot maintain it, that was the same thing over in Mr. Paul's. We cannot set a precedent that we can't maintain. And this, you know, unfortunately, we can't.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that and for helping me know what next steps might be on these things. Appreciate it. Okay. And thank everyone for your patience. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown, very much. Okay. Next, we have Larkin Phase 1 well evaluation and Diller Creek flow evaluation. Mr. Steele,
Yes, sir.
welcome.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you give the presentation and answer some questions.
I'm trying to make this as exciting as I can. A lot of numbers. You guys can hear me okay? Thanks for having me again. We've, of course, been here before, working our way down to what one demand that you want to support. And then now we put together options based on the location of that property on how you could develop additional sources that would supplement what the authority could provide currently. And so the original evaluation, can the authority without significant investment in their assets provide the water and sewer services needed for a full build out of that property? And again, there's still a lot of discussion that's happening about that. We took some comp plan, overlays, things that you knew were coming, et cetera. That doesn't mean that's in concrete. That can certainly change. But the amount of water available will not. So I'm just gonna jump right into it, and please stop me in the middle if you've got a question that would be helpful so you don't lose that train of thought. You're not gonna mess me up. Just tell me you got a question, we'll try to address it. So there were two places that we looked. One is gonna be Dillard Creek. The other is the possibility of drilling wells on that property. And so I'm gonna start with Dillard Creek. That's obviously gonna be the largest amount of water that you can get to, but it's gonna be the most expensive. So I wanna go through that. And again, there's various paths that we can take. This is just gonna get you inside the fence of the amount of water that each source can provide and the magnitude of work that it would take to develop that. As time goes on, it may not even be this board that takes action on that, but it will give you data points to make decisions moving forward.
Mr. Steele, can you move the microphone to your, so that you get it picked up there? Thank you.
How's that?
Great.
Better? Yes. Okay. So the background objectives for this particular source, we want to tell you how we estimated the flows that you could withdraw out of Dillard Creek. That all follows regulatory guidelines. This is not an opinion the CHA has. This is using the information that DEQ gives us to determine how much you can draw from a body of water. And I'll tell you how that calculation was made so that anybody wants to come behind me and dispute it, they will not be able to. 2, identify potential intake locations. Obviously, we want to try to get as close to the property as we can. You want to put your money into development, not pipe, pumps, etc. Review any endangered species or threatened species that you may come into. Much more detailed studies may be needed, but we can do desktop studies, which is what we've done, to tell you what we think might be there now. We've got some information about how you would move forward if you wanted to actually do the studies that were needed to see if you have certain endangered species. Nothing jumped out any more than what we're typically dealing with. My biggest challenge has been a blind spider in my 28 years, and that is, I didn't even know that was a thing, but they live in caves, and if you're gonna disturb them, they've been there so long they don't even have eyes anymore, so that's a side story. But regulatory permitting does have teeth. 4, identify potential for your water protection permanent conditions. So this would tell you all of the things that we would have to do if you wanted to actually develop this source. I think a lot of times folks do not give the whole picture. So there is an initial capital cost to actually develop that, the cost of the permitting, and the actual asset itself. But what do you do after that? What are the annual operating costs? You don't just strap this onto a stream and then water magically shoots to all of your developments. You may have to have class 1 operators. You may have to have power, chemicals. All of those things cannot be not thought about. And on a whole nother topic with even the recreational facility. I did a state-of-the-art facility down in Abingdon, Virginia. It's got football, soccer fields, softball fields, and everybody was behind it, and nobody had any idea how much money it was going to cost to water it, to have staff there constantly, so those things need to be in the front mirror, or the front windshield, so to speak. And then, most importantly, the permitting and capital costs if you wanted to develop this. So, I'll start at the beginning. Most of the time, we're able to determine how much water you can draw from a stream based on the nearest rain gauge. So there is no USGS gauge on Dillard Creek, so we expanded out to the next sewer shed that would actually give us the information, and we did a percentage of that. So the Tye River drainage area is 93 square miles, and the Dillard Creek drainage area is 7.3 square miles, which is approximately 8% of the Tye River. So that is how we determine, and that's something the DEQ will approve, how much water is actually coming to and flowing through that stream. That's important because in general, DEQ, Virginia Water Protection says that you can only take 10% of what flows by. So 90% has to keep going. And that doesn't matter how big the stream is. It can be something you step across, it can be something you've got to take a boat across. You have to let 90% go by, period. That's in New York City. That's no matter where you are, they have set the limit so that we did not just suck streams dry without any bounds. So that's not something we came up with, that's a DEQ requirement. So the average daily flow in Dillard Creek, we estimated 8.3 million gallons a day, which I was surprised by that enough that I made my team go back and double check. And I guess I was surprised because it's right here where you see it cross under the road, because of growth and brush over, it doesn't look very wide. But as you get further up near the confluence of it, it's actually quite wide, and there's a lot of water in that creek, with a median flow of 5 million gallons a day. So if you only withdraw 10% of that during average flow conditions, then you can get 830,000 gallons a day from that river or stream. So that is a lot of water. To give you context, what we were talking about to meet the 30-year build out for what you have got on your radar now, which again, that can change, you needed an additional 80,000 gallons a day. So this is an enormous amount of water. To keep moving, we don't want to miss anything. That sounds awesome on the average level. However, we always do our math. The way that the withdrawal works, you literally look at the day prior at how much flow came through that stream, and then that day that you're in, you can pull 10% of that. So literally, you have to check, the operators check every day. And if you don't, and they catch you, you get a violation notice. So it's not like you can say, okay, over a course of a month, we're going to assume that every single day we can pull this amount of water. That's not how that works. So we go back and look, what is the lowest average stream flow months? And they're July, August, and then October. So even during the lowest flow months, and this is looking back 25 years of data, and during the lowest flow months, you still would be able to pull greater than that 82,000 gallons a day. And that's an engineering thing, 0.082 million gallons a day. I try to get my engineers to say, people don't understand what that means. That's 82,000 gallons a day. So there's that to kind of give you a little more information. We always went back and looked at drought conditions. And so this tells you that over 25 years that there would have been 6.7% of the days over the last 25 years you would not have been able to get that 82,000 gallons a day. So just further in the weeds, if somebody wants to spend the amount of money that I'm getting ready to show you would cost to develop this, you want to make sure that there's nothing going to catch you off guard. So the way we handle this, a little bit of unknown, because you're going to have drought conditions too, so let me go through that first. So the historic low flow periods, 2002 severe drought, it was too low to give you the 82,000 gallons a day for 30% of the days through that. So from 10-2, 2023 to 11/8/2023, there were 38 consecutive days that you would not been able to have pulled the full 82,000 gallons a day out of that stream. From 10/2/23 to 11/20/23, there was one day during that 50-day period that you would not have been able to pull 82,000 gallons a day. All that to say, that gives you an idea of the risk you would carry if you had to have all 82,000 gallons every single day that you were operating that intake. And that's not the case. We do that by buffering that with storage tanks. There's ways you can bridge your way through those drought conditions by having storage and just thinking about what your demand really is and cycling that appropriately. So what permitting, let me stop there. Is there any questions about how we came up with what you could pull from that creek? And I will call it risks, and just, I call it eyes open to all things that you might run into over the course of the time. Yes, ma'am.
Is a physical device that's mounted in the creek that's measuring it, or is it a person?
If we decided to move forward with this, we would probably get a stream gauge installed on that stream so that they would not even have to go to the stream. So at the treatment facility that you would have, or wherever you were monitoring it from, they would pull that screen up first thing in the morning and actually read how many cubic feet went through that area the 24 hours prior. And then they would set their withdrawal pumping rate to equal 10% of that amount. And they could pull it fast and get to 10% in 2 hours, or they could slowly draw it off over a 12-hour period of time. And you cycle the pump at that withdrawal station based on how much you can pull and how quickly you want to push it through whatever treatment process that you have.
And you may touch on this in a minute, but say we have flash flooding or high sediment or something like that, there's days that we can't pull from it just based on water quality too, right?
No, that would be addressed on the treatment side. So because it's going to be flashy, and I'll say that because when the streams get high, you see the change in color. That's turbidity. So that's sediment that is in the stream, and it's going to get into your treatment process. For that reason, there are certain technologies you would not be able to use. So membranes are very picky about flashy water because it jams those membranes,
Right.
and you can have some major issues with that. That's surface water. So it may be a conventional treatment process where you have enough time for those particulates to settle out, but that would not prevent you from drawing. The treatment would be your
Hiccup there.
your critical path at that point. So permitting requirements, so there's quite a bit of permitting required when you pull off of a stream. So DEQ issues a Virginia Water Protection Permit for construction of withdrawals. And the United States Army Corps of Engineers issues a permit for construction activities. Anytime you touch a body of water, we have to put a joint permit application together, and all of those agencies get their shot at it. So even if we're punching a pipe under that stream, and I can guarantee that I'm not gonna touch that water in any way, they still make us go through that. And they want a fracking plan, so if we did penetrate the bottom of that stream bed, what are we gonna do in the next 30 minutes, hour, and long term? So all that would be under all the scrutiny that any project that touches stream would go under. And I say that because when people in the audience are listening to talking about getting into a creek, we don't do that without following every single rule there is. And as an engineer, I appreciate most of them. Some of them overreach a bit and put us through a little bit more work than we should, but better safe than sorry. So all of the measures would be taken in the permitting process, and we would follow all those rules to make sure that we were in compliance and that it could be operated in a way that kept regulatory compliance. I think that's important too. So this permit includes the construction requirements. It includes water withdrawal operations and reporting requirements. Again, is the limitation on the withdrawals based on the previous day's flows. requirements for intake screen size and face velocity. So when you pull water out of a creek, you don't just throw a pipe in there and pump it out. There is an intake that has screens on that. And the screens are based on sometimes the type of aquatic life that's in there. It's based on the technology. It's based on what you want to pass through those screens so that you're not pulling little small turtles, salamanders, things of that nature. And the screen size is based on the amount of flow you're pulling through there. So if you have a lot more flow needed, your screen face has got to be much bigger because you got to have a lot more smaller holes to pull more flow through. I'm getting a little far in the weeds, but I'm just trying to let everybody know what that means. Sections within that permit are the authorized activities that are allowed, the term of the permit. It has to be renewed every few years to make sure that you're still in compliance. Standard project conditions, stream modifications, which would be what the intake and the outfall structures look like. Water surface withdrawals, water withdrawal monitoring, what you record, what you report, construction monitoring and submittals, and then there's some general conditions. All that to say, this is not something that you just throw together in a couple of weeks and go there and start pulling water out of a creek. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of reporting that's required to make sure that we're doing anything and keeping the environment in mind. The desktop study of this area shows that there are, in this area, that doesn't mean specifically where we would ultimately do the work, but there are 3 mussel species identified potentially in this area. And what we typically do with that, we do a mussel study. Literally, people will get in the stream and they'll rake, turn over rocks, and if they find a live mussel, one, even if they find a shell, sometimes that's enough to trigger. Either we relocate them or we do measures to make sure that we don't disturb them during the construction. So 20 years ago, that was laughable. It is not now. They do not take it lightly, and you will get shut down if you do not follow those rules. Potential impacts are believed to be minimal, so I say that now, but if we got to that point, we would do a much more invasive dive to be sure that we weren't going to get caught off guard. And at that point, that would happen before, in my opinion, as your consultant, I would say you do that before you get ready to spend a bunch of money. Do your homework and find out how much you're going to have. What's the cost of entry to get through that permitting piece? And do you still have an appetite to keep spending money? That's what I would recommend.
Was this environmental level 3 or 2? What is review?
As far as difficulty?
Yeah, like if I'm used to the construction version of this.
We do it all the time. I just don't think people know.
Yeah.
With the public listening to me talk about all this, I want to make sure that they
Sure.
understand that this is not something that we just throw together. And there's a lot of behind the scenes work that is done to make sure we're following
Right.
all the rules. This is, of the permitting requirements, intakes are probably the highest, I would say, complexity and difficulty. There's no chance they don't get approved.
Yeah.
There's a lot more work than putting a pipe in the ground.
Right. Got it.
Also, because of how wide and how not so deep that creek is in certain places, there may be a need for a low water dam. That doesn't stop the water from flowing. It just makes it deep enough in that water. You can imagine if you're trying to pull water out of something and it's only that deep, then you're going to be sucking air or debris. So you may want to make it deeper right where that intake is, and of course the 90% will still fall over the rest of the dam. So this is the slide I probably should have started with. I think everybody just needs to know what you would get and why these numbers are what they are. So the permit itself, to DEQ, to get them to say, yes, you're right, you can pull this amount, is $40,000 to $50,000. That's what you send in with the permit. The dam, if we have to have a low water dam, the installation and permitting of that, I'm saying that's less than 100. The special studies, that's 10 to 25 per study, and all those seem high until you see the $6.5 million number. So those upfront numbers are not as hard to live with when you know you're really looking at a $6.5 million, that's the capital cost of installing that intake and the raw water pump station. And we've done 2 or 3 in the last couple of years, so anybody who wants to know where I got that number, I mean, we just did screens and pumps at Philpott Dam down in Henry County. Now, that's a 12 million gallon a day facility, granted, but it was $7 million just to put new pumps and screens in the water. So this is by far the best and largest volume of water that you can get your hands on, but you're gonna want to make sure that it is actually needed, because the price to entry isn't linear. So if you want 800,000 gallons a day, and I say that's 6.5 million, you can't say, well, I only want 80, so that means that should only be 800,000. Doesn't work that way. So there's a cost to entry, and then you can treat as much as you want after that, but so that's just to give you some context. And then I'm assuming that operation and maintenance costs are just one staff probably, and with reasonable chemicals, $150,000 to $250,000 annually. So that's the creek. So again, just to summarize, there's a lot of water there,
And
and
just,
at some point, it may be the right
yeah,
thing to develop, but this is what I was asked to do, and I think the next set of slides will be a little more reasonable for where you guys are in your journey.
yeah. My question is, just to put 800 and some thousand million gallon, whatever that number is, 800 and some thousand gallons a day, what would that usage look like? Is that the village of Livingston times 3? Is that, is that Stony Creek? Like, if there's like something just for me to rationalize. Obviously manufacturing can have specific uses of something, but if in a context that I might be able to visualize.
Trying to remember that, Mr. Rutherford, that original study that we did had all of the usages for Stony Creek and all of those areas, the peak usage for each one of those. I can't pull it out of thin air right now, but
That's okay.
before I leave here, I can slip you something that has it on there.
I would just like to, if I can just see what that means, that'd be great.
It's what, 10 times more than you need?
10 times more than what you need.
For the 30-year build out of
And that's-
the entire Larkin property?
Even if it's not just there, how much that could assist in the Livingston context.
I think that's fair to say that the only reason it would make sense
Yeah.
if the area impacted and benefited is much larger.
I mean, and I think that's where some of our discussions are gonna be headed in trying to design what the village of Livingston and the 29 corridor should look like.
Well, and if you recall, this is not the only reason this came up. When we were in joint meetings with the authority and the county, it was clear that if additional water and sewer were needed, that not only were additional sources gonna be required, but facilities that are treating water now very well may need significant upgrades.
Right.
So when that starts happening, you've got to start saying, at what point does it make more sense to start building a new source with upgraded assets where we can get significant more water versus upgrading things that are already in place? And I'm not saying that's the right answer. I just think there will come an intersection of those conversations when you gotta think about that.
That 6.5 million, that is just to pump it into our system and send it to Black Creek to get treated, right?
That is,
Everything.
yes.
That's treatment
That's
and
Pump station.
dispersal.
It's cheaper than the
Oh, that's-
DSS building.
that's-
what I was.
That's a
Now,
lot
that is
cheaper.
not the storage tank. I did not
Oh,
have
that's okay.
tankage in there because that's a whole nother conversation about where you need that, how much. Recreation area is gonna need less storage than if you actually plan on having homes, businesses, things that are gonna need water every single day, 24 hours a day. And I will say that's an estimate, which is why you don't see any details under that. I would need a lot more. I'm trying to give you context in this source versus drilling wells. And you will see there's a stark
Sure.
difference in that.
And there's nothing that stops us from doing wells and then doing this when it's necessary. Whatever that is, but 6.5 mil,
That's cheaper than the number that was thrown around by making our Black Creek facility
right?
handle more capacity.
Yeah,
I'm just putting that out there.
yeah, yeah. No, you're exactly right.
So you can drill a couple wells, but you're still gonna have to spend
Still more
millions at Black
millions.
Creek.
And that's, yeah.
Just
No.
food
hey,
for thought,
Hey,
unfortunately.
All right.
I'm sorry, can I ask a couple questions before we move on to the next thing? If you wouldn't mind, could you, just elaborate a little bit on, I guess, the timeline for permitting of a water withdrawal real quick? And then I was gonna ask you if you wouldn't mind, speaking to the whole water impoundment, concept and why that doesn't seem feasible for your report.
So first, the permitting, I would say a year would be a reasonable permitting time period for that. That is, a lot of that's DQ time, so that doesn't mean that that's the whole time we'll be doing the permitting work. The impoundment is something that is just not done very often. And I am working in an area right now, just as a data point, where an impoundment was thought to be a great idea, and then nobody thought about the fact that an inspection is done on that impoundment structure every year. And you have to have an emergency evacuation plan. And all of the things that are below that impoundment now, as soon as you have to do an enormous amount of work in this particular location, they're only using it every once in a while for emergency backup. They're gonna have to put $3.5 million in, or they've gotta get rid of it, and it costs them $2 million to get rid of it. So, impoundment is, I would say it's a life choice for whoever has to take care of it and deal with the emergency requirements. Because obviously if you have an impoundment with that much water behind it, anything below there, a whole study's done to see who would get impacted if that dam wall were to breach. I did not consider it in this because it's not, $6.5 million, I don't think would touch that impoundment process. That is probably a 2-year process, and impoundments are much more invasive to the species. You're literally taking that flow by water, and whatever animals would otherwise pass through, they are not going to pass through. And so I think we can continue to look into that if that's the board's pleasure, but after listening, with my experience, I was trying to come up with things that were actually going to hit the mark and would be something that would give you some results in the short term. I mean, I think an impoundment with a lake that would have dual purposes sounds fantastic, but there would be a lot more of those in a lot of places if it was that simple. So I don't know, I didn't mean to skirt that, Candy.
Yeah, no worries. I know we had talked about it
Okay.
a lot in public sessions, so just wanted you to touch on that just a little bit and
Okay.
as to what your thought process was with that.
Does that answer give some context on why I didn't go down that rabbit trail particularly? Okay.
For me, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna move now to groundwater. So this is the area of the property boundary, and I'm gonna touch on 4 things. This is much less in the weeds, so I'm getting close. I appreciate the patience. So I want to talk about the well yield target, and well yield is what the well will actually give you when you're pumping water out of it. Talk about the site geology, the resistivity analysis results, which is what we actually did to determine where there is the best chance for a well to produce water, the cost of developing the wells, and then what would happen next if the board and leadership chose to go in that direction. So for the 81,000, and that's a really specific number, and that is, I wanted to use a number that was specific to the previous report that we did. So somebody looked at that and said, what that report shows as full build out, which is a combination of recreation, housing, commercial, all of those things, to supplement what the authority can give you, that's the additional amount you need for that full build out. So that doesn't mean that you need all of that now. So if you chose to move forward with a phase 1 set of development out of that report that we did, whether that looks like just a recreation first or a small cluster of some other type of development, your full build out demand requirements would be different. This is everything. So this is if you had everything built, that's how much you would need to support all of that development, which I think we looked was a 30-year window. So keep that in mind. The VDH safe field requirements, you can only actually pull 55% of what you determine can be taken from that well. And they do that so you don't just absolutely draw the well down to your pumping mode. And that's, again, that's not a CHA thing, that's a Virginia Department of Health thing. For that reason, you want to find a well or set of wells that ultimately give you 110 gallons a minute. So 55% of that gives you the 60 that you need. So people get confused, like with that well, we just got 30 gallons a minute from that. You can't have all of it. So you can only have 55% of it. So a little site geology for that area. It's a lot of bedrock, has low porosity. Groundwater flow is through weathered rock and fractures nearby wells, and this is something that I wanted to make sure, everybody always asks, well, what do we think we can get before we spend any money? So nearby wells range between 7.5 and 88 gallons a minute. And here's the list of those wells. I find interesting, and I don't know what that would even look like, but there's a lot of inactive wells here, which means that they've either quit using them or something else has occurred. We did not get into the weeds on that, but you can see there is a well that produces 88 gallons a minute. There's a couple of 28, there's a 20, so on and so forth. So just to give you some context on what is actually in the ground now, VDH has all those records, and so I didn't want you to say, well, how much of a chance do we have at getting the magic 110 all at one time? Doesn't mean you won't get it in that area, but just sprinkling of what's there now, actually real numbers, this is what we saw. Which means you may need more than one, you may need 2 or 3.
I mean, that's a pretty large spread, Lake Nelson to Livingston, but I know historically in some of the homes that I've built on Stevens Cove, Fortunes Cove, I mean, they've usually been pretty productive. I mean, I don't remember any that were less than 10 gallons a minute.
Right.
Or 8 gallons a minute. Home builders, we only need one, and
Yeah, that's
enough
right.
depth to
That's
make the
right.
reservoir work, but,
Yeah.
There's also a lot of complaints about water certain times of year.
then that could be the case. That could be the case. I mean, I'm just curious if you pulled any health permits. I don't know if you could pull from, well, you should be able to pull from time frame
That's right.
recently, yeah.
So just an idea of what, there's some areas like in Rockingham County, there's a well that feeds the entire Coors plant.
Mhm.
That's not the aquifer that
No.
we're in here.
No.
So this is what we did to determine where the best chance for water, and this is a proven method that we've used for decades. So this is a electrical resistivity where they drive rods in the ground. This pointer's not working, but these are the lines. So there's a rod here and here, and they run resistivity, electricity along that line. And when it hits a spot that doesn't have dense, this is considered rock, it goes through that and then swells into what's considered a void, which we believe most of the time is where water is located. So the longer this vertical shaft is, the better. Because this shows that there's a fracture trace intersection right there. Here, you can see that is not what we're looking for. There is no fracture trace intersection, no place for water to collect, etc. And so we've even got depths here, a little hard to see, but that gives us an idea of how deep we might have to drill and where the water might be. So just to give you some context, this is nerd geologic stuff, but this is the track in the high school here. So that gives you an idea of what you're looking at, and this is obviously the highway.
Wow.
So I'll show, the next shows where we think the best place for the wells. We've got 3 locations cited, and those are these 3 here. So this line gave us nothing solid. These 3 are these 3 spots. So this is on top, these are on the top of the ridge line, and this is in the bottom. So I think the logging happened for the school like right in there. So that gives you an idea of where that is. It's important because even if those well sites were fabulous on top of that ridge, you can't helicopter in equipment to dig the well. So now we gotta think about site access and also getting that water back off of that location. So for that reason, the one that is closest to where the school is, to me, is the lowest hanging, easiest one to get to.
How many fruit branches or bottle caps did you use while doing the rest?
What's that?
Test? You know, I'm talking about which.
Oh, that's a good story. That's a good question. Because
Listen,
2 other times I have had somebody come in with what is the species of that branch?
well, fruit tree, maple, beech.
I've had somebody come in. I think he was like 88,
Yeah.
and I said, I already know where the fancy smart engineers think the wells are on this property, and I gave him a boundary,
Yeah.
gave him a day. He was within 5 feet
There you go.
of every one of them, which doesn't bode well for me when I send you guys an invoice for what it costs to do that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to defend spending money when you got that versus the guy with the tree limb stand.
Well, I bet you if we called the McGanns, Kenny Sites, and Halls and said, all right, go pick a spot.
The guys back home in Giles and the Bedford area, they don't even need the stick.
Yeah.
They just walk around.
Yeah.
They smell the trees. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know what they think is going on and
Science.
all that, but they just. Well, the fact of the matter is, back before all this happened, they couldn't stay in business very long if they drilled a bunch of dry holes. So
Yeah.
it was required. So the well at the bottom is the one that would require the least amount of site entrance work, the least amount of tree cutting, etc. So next steps to drill and develop a well. I would imagine I still can't tell you how much water you have until you actually get in there and drill something and start seeing what you've got. And that would entail getting the drill rig in there. They would drill a test well and then do a 48-hour drawdown test, which is required by VDH. In their mind, if you pull water out of that well for 2 solid days, every minute of 48 hours, and you don't get that level to drop, that's the amount that can be sustained. So they'll keep putting pressure on that well until the level in the bottom starts moving, and then you gotta back off the pump until it stabilizes. And if you pull that amount of water for 48 hours, then you're not overtaxing that aquifer. If there are other wells in the area, we also monitor those, because it's not just how you're impacting that level. If you put pressure on it and that one's not moving, but the one beside it is dropping, then you're in the same aquifer and you can't pull too much because now you're stealing from that well. So that's kind of a layman's.
How far are you measuring? What if the next well's a mile away?
That's
not gonna happen.
No, I mean, there's a rule of thumb, but that's not the magnitude we're talking about.
And our aquifers are very different here. I mean, they're vertical angled, we got thousands.
If the school had a well, I'll probably consider checking that. It's always good to know all your data. I mean, even 10 years from now, if something were to happen, let's just say there was one on the school and somebody claimed, well, that's why it failed. No, we did the test at the time of the development and they weren't intersected at the time. So these costs are much different than the ones you saw before. So the top bar just gives you overall cost, which should be the sum of all those. So for public water, potable water development, the site preparation, 20 to 40, I will say that I think the lowest site where you can get at it from the school property is probably 10 or less. So it's not near the lift. We're talking about getting on up to the top of that mountain. We're cutting major trees, we're putting a road bed in, etc. So it's a little more expensive for that. The site approval and VDH approval for drilling is not a very heavy lift. And then drilling the well at each location for just the testing, you can see those are in the $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 range. So
20,000, is that just to drill the hole and just to drill the hole?
they'll case it where they see that they're not in bedrock.
Well, yeah, 50,
But
these are 3B,
It's not
3C wells,
they
like,
won't grout it and get it all the way to VDH
okay,
standard if it's not the amount of water you want.
okay.
So
That just seems
if I was a property owner, I would say I'm gonna drill as many of those as I can right now. So that's not a fully developed well. I know you know what that probably costs, so that's why. This is a test well cost.
Is that what it's gonna cost us to clear the way to get to that well?
Yeah.
Is that where, yeah, that's.
The well, the clear the way is
Oh, no,
20,000,
20,000,
20 to $40,000 number.
Clear the way is 20 to 40, and drilling the well is 15.
And you say that's per site, even though this, the close site will be less than the
Correct.
ridgetop sites. What's the range, do you think, for the high sites to the low site?
I have to look at it.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would probably want to think about a couple of different things. I know that the property around that was logged, and I don't know if the county has any appetite to even think about that, but that's one thing to think about as you're clearing. Do you want to try to recapture some cost and help the logs actually pay for some of that? The other would be for me to get the well driller out there and say, tell me the minimum you need to get that rig on top of that hill.
Right.
And if that's a bulldozer pulling you and you're comfortable with that, then maybe that's the level of investment that you put in, because you don't want a full-blown road and you find out the well doesn't give you but 8 to 10 gallons a minute.
Right.
So there's a little more legwork to do
Yeah.
if the pleasure of the board is to, let's get serious and sharpen those numbers and give me something that is gonna be within, 5% of accuracy on what's really gonna cost to go to the next step.
So for a test well, I can assume that range would apply to the one well site that you recommend, certainly not for the other two.
Yes, I think that's fair. And again, a goal for today was to give the board some context on the magnitude of cost that each of the sources would require to develop.
Yeah. I mean, drilling a well. I mean, I know at this point, I mean, you've done the resistivity tests, like it gives us a general idea of where the science is pointing us to. I mean, clearing the path has a potential of being more than just, 20 to 40K. It just depends on, how much, if they want 53s and 57s and all that. I imagine a lot of the well drillers, depending on the time of the year, while it's dry right now, it's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't mind plowing ahead and just dropping the rig and see what happens. But once you start getting December, January, they ain't doing nothing until springtime before you ain't expecting to build a full out road.
And there's some money, there's some grant money out there
Yeah.
for additional source
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
So there's some SER cap funds, VDH has got a little bit of money.
Okay.
So again, I just need some direction from the board, it doesn't have to be right now, on where you want me to go with this. I would say it definitely needs polishing, but I didn't wanna make any assumptions and give you super detailed numbers on a location, and then the board goes in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
So, that,
You would do the drawdown testing?
we would coordinate all that
Yeah, as I
through the
said,
contract we have with you guys and that.
and
That just helps you not to get in the weeds on having to get multiple quotes, and we deal with these folks all the time, and at leadership and the board's direction, we would reach out and get quotes, like real quotes, before we even
yeah.
made a decision.
Yeah. You got 3 well sites, 3 well.
So I have a question.
Yes,
Why is the range of cost different for non-potable water as to potable water? I mean, what is the different level of work that has to be done? Does that have to do with water testing once they do the,
it's more of the level of construction required by VDH if it's gonna be something that we ingest. If you're gonna use it to water football fields, then VDH is gonna have a lot less to say about how you develop that well from a grouting standpoint, from a casing standpoint, from operation standpoint.
but am I right, this is just the cost for the test well?
Correct.
Yes,
So there's still a whole different level of technology and process by which you extract water that's potable as opposed to non-potable?
there is, again, the difference in those two is VDH involvement versus no VDH involvement.
Okay,
So you dropped the big $6.5 million bomb on us with the other project. What's the estimated cost? Say, we need 3 wells, and we gotta do all the extra steps, and we gotta pipe that stuff to our current water station, and it can handle it. What is our cost?
The good news about the wells is I would not send those to.
To
the
sell
treatment
water, you
facility.
have to treat it, right?
We,
I was under the
I
impression,
would do that on site.
oh, so no matter what, we're building a new water treatment.
Well, a treatment facility for a well is a whole different animal than, so if we find out that the well water and our geologists think that it will not be surface water influenced, if it's not under the influence of surface water, then you may only have to chlorinate,
Yeah.
and that's it. So that's a little building with a chlorine tank in it and a pump that injects the chlorine as needed to meet VDH requirements, and then that water gets pumped to wherever you want it on that Larkin property.
I used to have to do that in a community I owned. It's not too crazy.
And then, so how do we decide whether surface water,
We gotta drill a test well.
before,
Mhm.
and then
Before you
we'll
know.
decide if and it's turbidity or something?
That we'll test it.
Yeah.
There's a panel of tests you do that can tell whether or not it's actually being influenced by surface water.
so that kind of answers my question, I think. that I
Right.
had. Okay.
So VDH doesn't care if it's under the influence of surface water. If all you're gonna do is spray it out on the ground and it makes its way back down there
Right.
anyway. If one of us are gonna drink it, there's a whole nother level of investigation required.
So, I mean, just as a similar equivalent, is this just like a 3B well, 50-foot worth of casing and
Mhm.
grout? So it's the same thing as a 3B, essentially? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Again, this needs more polishing. I'm trying to get in from bigger spaces into smaller spaces with everybody's gotta make these decisions. So based on direction from you, doesn't have to be now, I think what you had talked about, Candy, was having maybe a work session where we could have a much more I don't wanna take up the whole board meeting, but even at that meeting, I could have some much more polished numbers for what would just the well closest to the school, all in cost, and then what does it cost for you to turn a tap on at a building that is on that Darken property, all costs included, for you to get it all the way, because I think there is some confusion. Would we send it to one of the facilities that the authority already runs? I would not pump it there and then have to pump it back.
Well, our facility can't handle it, from my impression. We talked to them, I guess that was 2 months ago. And they were having trouble with one of those wells that you had listed. I don't know what happened with that. But if we took the pressure off of that facility, I guess they wouldn't need all the upgrades that they want.
Right.
Interesting.
Well, what we have talked about, I mean, there's no lie, I'm trying to help them too. So, I mean, I know all about what's happening in that system, but again, I think this is it's a county decision on how you move forward that will sustain you for the next 30 years. You can't throw good money and bad. There's all kinds of analogies that go with that, but all of this data has got to happen before people in your position can say, this is why we chose to do what we did. And I think what I would caution the county, and I have a lot of counties that think this is a good move, if you're going to develop a new source, you need to decide whether you want to get into the water treatment process business, or if you want to keep running sheriff departments and social security buildings and schools, etc. Because there's a lot to it. And I only say that because sometimes they say, yes, that is the right step. We're going to produce water, and our authority's going to produce water. But in the big picture, my goal is to make sure everybody, I'm not going to use kumbayas, but we need to make sure that the decisions made actually are going to be the most efficient way to run and develop the source for all of the ratepayers. Mm-hmm. Most of them not even in this room right now, but they depend on us to help guide you folks on what is the facts, and then you've got to take those and do what's right for your individual situation.
Yeah, I believe Ms. McGarry is thinking ahead about a capital improvement working meeting to take a look at this and reevaluate our priorities. So
what would you like me to have at that meeting? More detail on the well option?
I don't know.
I feel like we've got a fair amount.
Yeah, I don't know that we need anything
Okay.
else by then. By then, we would probably be able to say, well, this is what we would then need.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I think. I don't know.
And in the interim, she's very fluid with me. This is what I need from you, and I'll get that to her, and she can disseminate it to board members. So if there's something that comes up after I walk away from this podium, I'm clearly available to get some feedback to you.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
Does it cost us more to do the one test well and then eventually do the others if we had to? But I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like you're circling back this group a lot. You know what I mean?
I think that is also going to depend on whether I can find some grant money to do that first well, because then everybody gets a lot less wrapped around the axle.
Yeah, so that,
But in theory, you would love to do the 3 at one time.
What's that?
In theory, you would love to do 3 at one time.
For economies of scale savings,
Yeah.
you would certainly get that, but the amount of tree and road development that is gonna have to happen for this particular situation makes me have to rethink that.
so you mentioned grant money that might be available. That is something that would be helpful for us, I think,
I
to
don't
know.
have anybody turn that down.
Yeah.
typically. It's very,
But it would be good to know what options are out there, so. that
I've
we can-
had to do a lot of that because this is where I usually find things to screech to a halt. When you're doing investigative work,
Yeah.
and you're not sure whether you're gonna get benefit out of it, it is really hard for a government, people that are being held accountable by their ratepayers, to do that just off the cuff. So if I can find the grant money, they're gonna say, hey, We dug a hole, wasn't anything there, but it didn't cost you guys anything. So give me a shot to see if I can find some money to even soften those costs, and that may make this decision even easier for you.
Yes.
Just for clarification, for drilling the wells, most well drillers that are in business have the credentials that are needed for this, and
Mhm.
DEQ would be happy with. There's no special credentials that are needed. Is that?
I will say that because I'm going to be in charge of those, I will not use anybody that I will not stand up here in front of and defend.
Okay.
This will not be lowest price, because I can pick whoever I want.
Okay. I think I'm done.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, really
I
helpful.
Hope this hits the mark. I know there's a lot of questions about all this and a lot of numbers, but I appreciate the opportunity to help and continue to help.
Thank you.
It fulfilled all my expectations for
Oh,
this,
wow.
so thank you.
I'm gonna record that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank y'all
you.
very much.
Okay. Okay. Next, we have the jail utilization report from Mr. Vitale.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it. Okay, so each year, data is collected from ACRJ, which is Albemarle Charlottesville Regional Jail, and we do a time series analysis that looks at a spread of 10 years of data for booking and release trends. So in this 10-year spread, there was 3,206 Nelson County responsible inmates who were taken into the jail. And there's a couple other crime statistics on this slide. Group A crime offenses in the past decade have increased by 24%. Now that's comparing 2024 to 2015. Reported arrests, that compares only to 2023. 2024 data wasn't quite available at that time. But arrests have increased 197% in the last decade. And then crime rate per 100,000, which is kind of, is a way to compare to other regions. It's also up 26% in the past decade. So as a consequence of that, more inmates have entered ACRJ from Nelson County. That's up about 21%. And again, that's comparing 2024 to 2015 numbers. Each individual is booked with an average of 2 charges per day. So when they enter the jail, each of their charges is recorded separately. So if they have 2 charges in one intake, it could be breaking and entering, and assault and batter, for example. The top 4 book charge categories, and this is by volume, and this is for 2024, narcotics, DWI, contempt, and assault type charges. Another really interesting statistic, 1 in 5 releases return to custody to serve a sentence. And that's over the 10-year spread. So over 10 years, you have about a 20% recidivism rate. Okay, we don't need to worry too much about this. Weekenders, Nelson County, typically there's not a statistically significant amount of weekenders. Okay, so intakes, again, this sort of just recaps that front slide, 21% increase. It did spike in 2018, 2019, and then of course COVID hit. And the intakes kind of decreased a little bit. Year over year, comparing 2023 to 2024, you had a 4% decrease. And then of course, we're looking at different races. So one thing with ACRJ statistics, they don't have a good method of capturing Hispanic. So those are kind of lumped in with the white category, which is unfortunate. If you look down below, female inmates increased 5.36% in the last decade. And male inmates intakes only increased about 1.5%. Okay, so some good news. Increases in total intake volume for younger people is way down. So decreases in the 18 to 24 and the 25 to 29 cohorts has decreased significantly. And I'll show you that. This is just a simple line graph that shows your 10 years of intakes. You can see the spike, 2018 and 2019. Then it kind of came down after COVID. Just a quick community comparison. The other members of ACRJ, Albemarle's intakes over the past year have gone up 5%. Charlottesville has gone down 9%. And Nelson, kind of in the middle there, down 4%. That's just your rate per 1,000 people. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. So if you look at the bar on the left, that's your 18 to 24 group. And they have decreased in volume by 56% over the last 10 years. So that's pretty exciting news for younger people. Same with the 25 to 29 cohort. They're down 36%. And then the older folks have actually increased. So there's a theory that hasn't been tested yet that it could be the same people, aging up within the system, recidivating, and moving into these higher age groups.
And then the less young people you got, the more their number goes down.
That's right. This just compares race, black and white intakes again. Not the best data clarity as far as Hispanics are lumped in with the white intakes. Gender, pretty interesting, but not uncommon across the board. Typically, males have more involvement in the criminal justice system than you females. So those numbers are much higher. And here's a visual that really hits home the difference in the younger folks. If you look at this top chart on the left, in 2015, 25% of your jail intakes was the 18-24 age group. And if you compare that to this chart on the right, that's gone down to 9%. So your quantity of jail intakes overall has decreased, but not proportionately. Younger people have decreased at a faster rate. Okay, so this year, this is kind of a new section, community recidivism. This is just overall at ACRJ, so I'm going to jump forward to Nelson County. Okay, so we excluded cases of folks that were released to federal or the Department of Corrections. So it's only focused on individuals who are sentenced from Nelson County, from your local jurisdiction. I think that gives sort of the best picture of an actual recidivism rate for folks from this region. or at least sentenced from this region. And we're looking at people who returned and served a sentence within 1, 2, or 3 years. So that's the criteria. There's 624 unique individuals and 150 return custody events. So, interpretation of that, you're at about a 19.25% recidivism rate. Now, it's not tracking if folks recidivated at another facility. It's just too data intensive to find all that information. So this is just folks that recidivated at ACRJ. And then you have some comparisons. The overall rate for that jail is 25%. Central Virginia Regional Jail is at 23% overall recidivism rate. And Albemarle County is at about 20%. I thought I had Charlottesville on here, but I don't see it.
For Albemarle, does that include the program where they've been released with the ankle monitors and the how they're
Yeah,
doing?
good question. So this does not include HEI, the home electronic incarceration, and it's only folks who are found guilty of a new sentence, which could be under HEI, but no, it's not looking at HEI. But keep that question on the back burner because we're going to come up to a HEI study here shortly. One thing that's interesting here is if you look at the 6-month return window or recidivism, that's sort of your highest bracket. Your most of your folks are going to recidivate within 6 months. If you can sort of get above or get past that hump, rate or the number of recidivism reduces. You got a bit of a spike at 2 years, but it's almost half the amount of folks recidivate at 3 years. So it's seems like just keeping folks out of the system for as long as possible. Okay. We'll go through bookings real quick, which is charges. Again, a little bit different from individuals because like a person is counted one time during their intake, but charges could be counted multiple times because they're attached to a person. So your misdemeanors have increased 17% in the last decade. Felonies have increased 53%. And again, this is not a reflection of crime necessarily. It's actually could be seen as a good thing, as more of your higher level crimes are getting booked into the jail, less of your misdemeanor type crimes. Top 10 charge types, I have a graphic for that. Bookings coming down. Okay, bookings by charge level. It's like I said, it's probably a good thing that your felony bookings are higher than your misdemeanor. It means some of the lower level crimes are not getting booked as much, or they're going through like diversion programs. Here's a booking to intake ratio. On average, of course, averages can be a bit misleading, but each individual is booked with an average of 2 charges. So most bookings have multiple offenses. This is a really interesting data point. So this is just 2024. Look at your top charge category for last year, narcotics. almost 80 charges booked. DWI, a little bit over 50. That third one is contempt. And then you have assault. Probation violations is PRV. Larceny, weapons, fraud, alcohol/obstruction, that's gonna be something like a drunk in public. And then license-related charges, could be something like driving without a license or suspended license, something like that.
Which one of these was contempt of court?
That's gonna be the third one down.
Okay.
So I took that information and I made this percentage chart. And if you add up some of these percentage ones. Okay, so assault, or I'm sorry, narcotics, DWI, and contempt, that's 45% of all your bookings for last year. And if you look at, let's see, fourth one down. So if you look at assault, that's also 12%. So you could swap out assault with contempt, and you still have 45% of your bookings. Pretty significant, although I will say it's not, it doesn't stand out from the other regions that I've looked at. Everyone in the Jefferson area is dealing with sort of these same issues: narcotics, DWI, assault, probation violations. It's across the board. All right, so we looked at narcotics, DWI, contempt, assault. Now you can see the rate of change. Narcotics is up 16%, and this is comparing the past decade. So 2015 is going to be your blue, 2024 is in your orange. So look at DWI, that's down quite a bit. It's down almost 50% from a decade ago. Even though it's still getting booked quite a bit, it's still not as bad as it was 10 years ago. Like I was saying, this is not super uncommon. A lot of localities in the Jefferson area are kind of dealing with these similar issues. Albemarle County, their assault charges are up 18% in the last decade.
Is contempt of court just becoming a more common, is that a common trend?
Yes, contempt and probation violations and assault. My service area is pretty much mirrors OAR. It's like 9 different localities. And those 3 categories or groupings of charges were almost identical across all the different regions. So yeah, it's really interesting. This is just the percent change, sort of another way to look at the same information. Skip through that. Summary. Okay, so this looks at a study that we did with UVA, where they looked at what they called the high utilizers of the justice system. Basically, their criteria was 4 or more times booked into the jail within a 1-year period. And the high utilizers, some of the common charge types, again, were very similar: assault, DWI, narcotics. Now, I won't go into all the details here for the sake of time, but you can access this full study on my website. But in a nutshell, high utilizers represented only about 7% of the people booked into the jail, but they represented almost 30% of the charges booked into the jail. So pretty significant resources there. They found no meaningful difference in race or in male and female. And again, some of the most common statutes among these, what we call high utilizers, is very similar to the top charge types in the Jefferson area. Larceny, probation, assault. There's your DWI, narcotics.
Larceny took a jump though.
So another metric we look at is average daily population of sentenced individuals and of pretrial individuals, because you don't want folks held pretrial for any more time than is safe for the community. Your average daily population held pretrial. Now this data point only goes back to 2016, because that's when the Virginia Compensation Board started publicly sending this data point out. So your pretrial folks, average daily population, about 10 years ago was going to be in blue. And for 2024 is going to be in orange. So the total ADP, this far chart, your total average daily population at ACRJ has gone way down. Right now, they're typically holding between 250 to 300 people per day. Now look at the second to the right, that's your convicted folks. Out of that 259, only about 100 of those folks are actually convicted. So the rest are held pretrial. It's 190 or so. Or no, it would be 160, because this pretrial probation violators is included in the held pretrial column. Average length of stay, I won't dwell on too long, because it's, again, when you look at averages, it's kind of misleading. Like, if you have an individual who stays at the jail for 600 days, it's going to skew the average of folks who only stayed for a 2-day period. So it's good to track over time, but it's not going to tell you, the average experience of individual at the jail. So that's your average length of stay. We haven't removed outliers or anything like that. Roughly the same. It had a spike in 2020, 2021, but it's come back down. And again, if you have a small inmate population and one person stays for a long time, that's what's probably going to cause your spikes there. This is just broken out. Black average length of stay, white average length of stay. And here it is by gender. Typically your males are going to stay longer. Alright, so sort of to get down to a more realistic picture than the average length of stay is we can look at these length of stay buckets. 37% of your individuals in 2024 only stayed at the jail between 0 and 3 days. 2% of your individuals stayed over 91 days. And here's your pretrial numbers, which are 66% of folks released pretrial only stayed 0 to 3 days. So if you look at both of these charts, most of your individuals at the jail from Nelson are leaving within 3 days. So bed days expended is sort of an economic tracking measure. Overall, your bed day expenditures increased 36% in the last decade. So one way we can compare to different size localities is to look at a rate. So like for Nelson County, your bed days expended rate is 910 for every 1,000 people. Albemarle is 336 for every 1,000 residents. Charlottesville is 773. Now I don't have some of the other counties on here, which probably be a better comparison, but they are higher than Albemarle and Charlottesville. Oh, and if you look at this last line item, so the oldest cohort that we track, age 50 plus, had a significant increase, contributing to that bed day expended number. So if you're interested in disproportionate contact, most of your bed day expenditures are from white people and from males. So females is the yellow, it's a small amount, or a smaller amount than males. And this just sort of reiterates, circle back to what we saw in the beginning. Your 18 to 24 group is spending less time at the jail, and sort of your older groups of folks are spending more time at the jail. So targeted reentry programs is a possible step. So HCRJ, they're very generous with the data. They give us a data download every year to look at, so. And this is just some summary level stuff. Questions? If I could just plug the CCJB real quick, the Jefferson Area Community Criminal Justice Board. I'm staff to that board, and we look at a lot of data analytics. We try to make evidence-based decisions. Nelson County is, of course, a member of that board. And so we're here to help you guys answer any other questions. Doesn't have to be, anything here today. Just please reach out and let us know how we can help.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
any questions?
Do you get to talk to Neil anymore?
Not so much. We had a meeting last year with the Capstone group, the UVA students.
I got you.
But yeah, not since then.
He's just having fun.
Yep, I hear he's having a great time.
Gotcha. Yeah. If you see him, say hello for me.
What's that?
If you see him, say hello for me.
Oh, for sure. Okay.
Okay, if there's no questions, thank you very much, good data.
All right.
Glad
Thank
to-
you all for
It
having
was
me.
good to see you. So, before we go on to new and unfinished business, we're gonna take a short break.